Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2026 Lake Ridge Parks and Recreation Association Meet the Candidates Night. Thank you for joining us and participating in this important part of our community's governance. Our meeting tonight is being recorded and will be posted on the LRPRA YouTube for members to review. My name is Martha Nelson, and I serve as chair of the nominating committee for this year. Joining me tonight are my fellow committee members, Michael Butler, and committee member and board member, John Mayer. We appreciate the opportunity to present the candidates who are running for the LRPRA Board of Directors, and we are grateful for their willingness to serve their community. Some of our candidates have work obligations this evening and were unable to join us. Tonight's forum is designed to give homeowners the opportunity to hear directly from the candidates about their background, qualifications, and priorities for the future of the Lake Ridge community. I'd like to briefly explain the format for the meeting this evening. Candidates will be asked 3 questions. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to respond to questions 1 and question 2. For the first 2 questions, the responses will be in alphabetical order by the candidate's last name. The final question, the order of responses will be reversed, beginning with the candidate who spoke last in the previous round. And each candidate will have 3 minutes to respond to questions. There is a timekeeper that displays the time, and we ask that each candidate be mindful of the 3 minutes so that everyone has an equal opportunity to speak. And so we'll begin with Devin. Please provide a brief background on your experience in the community and what skills do you bring to advance the interests of homeowners, and how would Lake Ridge Association benefit from your election up to the board?
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Devin Adams. A little bit about myself. I moved to Lake Ridge in 2022 with my wife, Kelsey, to start a family. Since then, our family's grown, both my son Colby, and we have another addition anticipated in April. So we really love living in Lake Ridge. And like many of you, we use the amenities and the facilities here in the community. We care about the safety and maintenance of our community. And we think this is a community that should remain a place where families want to stay and grow long term. And I really view this as a place, not just where I live, but a place that we're collectively responsible for. In terms of skills, professionally, I work in public affairs for a clinical laboratory, and I'm also a registered nurse. My day-to-day work involves tracking and analyzing federal and state policies that may affect my organization and the people that we serve. And part of that involves me listening to people, listening to different stakeholders, listening to people within our organizations, and helping to parse out different viewpoints. And most importantly, once our organization takes a position, communicating why we decided to take that position and how it's going to affect the organization and the people that we serve. If elected, I would bring some of the same qualities to the board, and that's thoughtful decision-making, clear communication, and a commitment to really hearing all voices before a decision is made. I believe homeowners benefit when decisions are transparent and really made within their best interests. Thank you.
Just so I know the ground rules, is it 3 minutes for question 1 and 2 cumulatively?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, my name is Philip Botwinick, and I'm very excited to be here. I started my journey with this association about a year ago when I attended this same event about a year ago, and there were less people in the room. I don't know how many people are listening online. So I'm excited that there's so many people running, and I'll talk a little bit about my experience, but I want to footnote Vince, who's on the board now. He said last year, hey, I'm on the finance committee, I'm enjoying it, I'm learning, vote for the other people. I want to say that I'm enjoying my time on the finance committee and it's a great experience. So if it's not my time this year to get elected, I'm really okay with that. And I'm going to continue serving on the finance committee. As far as my experience, I'm going to try to leave this to about a minute. I started working in this area around 2010. I'm an attorney, a retired JAG attorney. So I was in the area with National Guard Bureau between 2010 and approximately, let's say about 2021. I served in a lot of capacities, doing investigations at Joint Base Andrews. I was doing contracting at the U.S. Army Intelligence and Security Command from 2018 to 2020, serving mobilization of contingency operations overseas. Then I spent some time briefly with the U.S. Army Aviation Missile Command as an acquisition attorney, where I was an expert in procurement. So my background is really law, investigations, contracts, fiscal and appropriation law. So I decided in about 2023 to permanently move to the area, and I bought a home here in the summer of 2024. Let's see here, I'll give myself a few more seconds. I've been involved in the U.S. Army National Museum since it opened about 4 years ago, and I'm also a volunteer with the Red Cross. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening and good luck to all the candidates. My name is Rolando Grimaldi. I was a candidate last year too, but Vince, that was on the finance committee with me, was elected. And a couple of other people, yes. And hopefully you guys are enjoying it. And it's a gratitude to be elected as a member. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to be a candidate. I've been a resident for a little bit over 3 years, I believe. I'm currently still serving in the finance committee, and I'm learning every day. I've been on the finance committee for a year and a half, and it's every time we meet, I always learn something new. So that's a good opportunity to keep knowing more about the community and the association. My background, I was born in Ethiopia. I grew up in Italy, worked all over Europe and in Africa. I've been in the US for 20 years. Currently, I'm the director of the elevator and escalator department with the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority. I've been with them 15 years approximately. I enjoy what I do, and it's a very difficult place to work, I'll be honest. Like I believe every type of semi-government organization, a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of waste of money. But I'm a person that, I try to get the best out of what it's out there. So I'm very fiscal responsible, always being on budget, try to do things by having a perspective on making it better and try to be efficient. There is a lot of technology out there in those days that can help achieve that. I would like to use some of that in here, especially when you think about asset and maintenance. And I know based on some of the reserve study that was done, I think last year, fiscal year 25 and previous one, we set certain amount of money for corrective action on repairing things. We need to start thinking strategically, doing predictive maintenance. So the difference it's going to take time to explain what is the difference. It may look like you spend more in the beginning because you replace or adjust things prior, but the waste of money of going there, identify what's wrong, getting the part, repairing it, once you do it, organizing and do it, long term, it's gonna save money. What I bring my experience as a maintenance and operational excellence. I enjoy the finance committee. I have some experience in finance also through my job, and then safety and leadership. Those are the skills that I bring for the association. And again, I'm gonna keep helping the community. I love where I am. I'm planning to retire here. If I don't get elected, I'm out. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Renata. I've been living here since 1991. I was here before we had Prince William Parkway. We had the playground that was still given by a child that died when he was 13 for cancer. So I know this when I grew up back in the days. I raised 3 children here. They went to Lake Ridge Elementary, West Ridge Elementary, and there's one of them is still in school. So I'm very involved. I was a teacher for 3 years. I'm a real estate agent, commercial and residential, so I have a lot of background for 20 years. I know a lot about the community. I own 2 homes in Lake Ridge, so I've been doing a lot of architecture committee. I do a lot of things that we have to take care of. Military background, we moved 7 times. We retired here, Air Force, so I'm one of the dependents, if you want to call me that way. I am part of another board. I'm actually been on the board for 10 years and another board for commercial property. And I've been the president for 6 years, so I kind of know the routine of what's going on. I like to offer my services. People ask me if I would like to join. So between the financing, bookkeeping, you name it, I try to bring a little bit on the table on that because I came from Germany where I had to learn real estate. So we did much more than over here. And overall, I'm a people person. I like to help people. I like to make this a better place. And I don't like to raise too much money. So I'm hoping I can help with that and make it a better place.
I'm Robert Milanowski. I've been a resident since 2018. And when I retired from the power generation industry to move here, to be with our grandchildren, we kind of moved from the flat prairie state of tract homes. So we fell in love with the forest and the hills of Lake Ridge. And HOA was a good experience for me. But I learned the benefits when the day I moved in, I found out that the neighbor built an unimproved fence the week before closing. After that experience, I started to attend board meetings regularly and was appointed to the architectural committee. And I served on that committee till I was appointed to the board of directors to fill a vacancy in July of 24. The skills and benefits from my election as a lifelong member of the Scouts of America, I've learned the value of community service and teamwork. I currently serve as an advisor to 5 Scout units in Lake Ridge, as well as a volunteer staff member at a camp in Haymarket. In my 50-year career of engineering for the power generation as a lead designer, I've been taught how to work with teams to accomplish goals. Thank you.
Thanks, Robert. Hi, everyone. My name is Erin Mosier. I moved here 2 months after my husband and I got married. We were both from Alexandria, and we knew we couldn't raise a family up in Alexandria at the rates up there. And so we knew we were going to be moving down here. So it's a very quick thing. After we got married, we moved down here. 2 years after that, we had a daughter, a 2.5-year-old now, and we plan on staying here for quite some time and continuing to build our family. With that family, we take advantage of a lot of the amenities that Lake Ridge offers, from the pools. We take our kayaks out and go fishing on the reservoir from the boat launch. We go to the community events like the Meet Santa and the Trunk or Treat. I'm an avid Orange Theory member, which I get to use the Lake Ridge discount for, so thank you for that. Orange Theory is a gym. And I just really love this community and really want to see it grow and thrive for families like mine to continue to come down. I've really also noticed the sense of connection this community has that I find that a lot of other communities maybe don't have that same sense of connection and value. So I really appreciate what Lake Ridge offers. As far as skills and experience and values, I've been working in associations my entire adult career, so a little over 12, 13 years or so. I'm a certified association executive, which just means that I distinctly know what it takes to not only run an association in the day-to-day, but how the board interacts with the association and the governance behind that. I've been on a number of volunteer boards in the transportation field throughout my career. I've worked mostly in transportation associations. But associations are run very similarly, no matter what the topic is. I bring a lot of policy development, financial oversight, strategic planning that I've done for the boards that I've worked on, as well as my staff for the boards that my organization has. And I'm just really excited about the opportunity to bring that experience and that value that I have for this community to you all. And I look forward to potentially continuing that work. Thank you.
I'm Neil Nelson. My wife and I have lived here in Lake Ridge since 1985. Some of the things I like about Lake Ridge are the opportunities for the outdoor recreation, the woods, the water, the Lake Ridge Park, to go over. That's just something that makes the community very desirable in my view. I'm a retired federal employee. I work for the Army. Mostly or almost all that time here in Northern Virginia. At Fort Belvoir, Pentagon, Arlington, Alexandria. I am the chairman of the Lake Ridge Trail Committee, and the function of the committee is to facilitate, the county building the Occupied Greenway Trail. But in addition to that, other volunteers and myself, we work on the trail, actually building and bringing portions of it and maintaining it as well. I also, 2010, started including Lake Ridge, the Who's Run site and the annual rock lawn cleanup. And we're fortunate to have a good number of volunteers that participate in that each year. And it does make a difference in keeping the little cleaner out there in that part of the watershed. I also have I have experience. I've been on the board before, so I have some experience with that. I'm fairly knowledgeable about how the board operates, what its role is, and about how the HOA operates. I got quite a bit of experience as a board member on nonprofit volunteer groups in the county as well. I've been doing that for about 25 years, different groups over time. And one thing I do believe in is listening to community input. That would be a priority for me. And also, I would pay very close attention to what the board has the benefit of receiving expert advice from a number of people, legal counsel, auditor, reserve study, what else? Oh, insurance guy. So they offer good advice, and I would, if I was on the board, I would heed what they say.
Hey, everybody. My name's Audra Skiba, and my husband and I moved here from Michigan about 22 years ago. And we lived in Dumfries first and then wanted to live in Lake Ridge. When our real estate agent started showing us around the community, I'd never seen any place like that where, the curbs are, there were pansies planted and everything was very well maintained, and it was very beautiful here, and it made me want to be here. So I want to make sure that is preserved. Our main purpose, up here is to preserve our homes, our value of our homes, make sure that our property value is maintained and keeps going up, right? So I want to be a part of that. In the 20 years that we've been here in Lake Ridge, we had a son. He's a senior at Woodbridge this year. So that leads me to one of my superpowers is conflict resolution. And so that's something I've been good at the last few years with a teenager. So that is a superpower of mine. I believe in listening. I believe that issues that come up and problems that arise can be handled. Well, they arise mostly when people don't feel heard. And so listening is super important. And just making sure that we treat all of our homeowners with respect. This is not an us versus them, but it seems like a lot of people think that. So I would like to fight to break that stigma. And just have, open communication, open dialogue, and help to keep Lake Ridge the amazing place that it is. Yeah, that's good. Oh, do you want me to just go ahead and start the next one, or you, okay.
Thank you. And we'll now move on to our third question of the evening. For this question, the order of responses, as Audra said, will be reversed, beginning with the candidate who spoke last in the previous round. And the question is, what specific issues do you believe should be addressed by the board in the next 3 years?
For me, I think communication is something that needs to be worked on. I know there's so many different ways to get information these days. And people are going all over the place, internet, podcasts, YouTube, I know this is gonna be on YouTube. So I think that just kind of maintaining and focusing communication is something that's important to me. Transparency in the board, I think, is super important. Especially with regard to finances. I feel like decisions need to be made, and some of those decisions are hard decisions. But I believe that all of our homeowners deserve to know what the discussions are that lead up to decisions that the board makes, and why those decisions were made. So communicating just why we do what we do is gonna be important to me. And yeah, just being respectful of homeowners' property. A lot of times I hear from my neighbors, oh, I got dinged from, the HOA, and it's like a bad bad feelings. And I don't think that needs to happen. Like I said, the main purpose of the HOA is to maintain property values. And this community has a sense of cohesiveness that I think is super important and beautiful. And the more we can communicate that and just work together on that is that'll be key.
Okay, specific issues, there's one specific issue, maybe guess at the Aquan Greenway Trail, I'd love to see that get finished, the next few years. It's been long overdue, and that's primarily, so it's on the county park department to do that mostly, and it's, again, long overdue, and just like to see that finished. But, yeah, I'm gonna repeat some of the things that Audra said, I think it's very important to, I don't have any special insight into what the community wants. So I think it's very important that what they want in terms of facilities or amenities or recreation programs or events. I think it's important to listen through all the mechanisms that are available, people that provide input directly to the associate staff, the offices, or people that come to the board meetings and speak during, the open session time. Last summer, Nick held this GM held a series of listening sessions or question and answer sessions that I thought were very good. I did only attend one of them, but that was a chance for people to come in and ask anything they wanted, and you could do an open dialogue with them, which you can't really do at the board meeting. The board members have to sit here. So I think Nick covered everything, or many things: covenants and resale, recreation and maintenance, admin and finance. So support that. I think that's a good idea. I do support doing surveys to get community input. I know they takes some time and effort to do them, but I think they're valuable. Again, don't have any special agenda, we're not bringing an agenda other than the one thing is Dr. Laundry Great Bear, so.
I echo also the Octawan Trail. I think that's something I would love to see get done as well. Other than that, for me, strong financial stewardship, that includes reserve planning, long-term budgeting, just to make sure that there are no surprise expenses that our homeowners are surprised by. Proactive maintenance and infrastructure planning, and that really helps preserve the community and helps boost our property values. I echo Audra on the transparency and clear communication. I think you can't have. You can just not have enough of transparency and communication with HOAs, with boards in general. And I think our homeowners, and I know myself included, want that from the board and expect that from the board. Fair and consistent rule enforcement. I know one thing I see around the neighborhood sometime is you'll have a house that's kind of a little in disarray that maybe is being missed by the HOA, and then the house next to it's getting dinged for everything. So it's just really fair and consistent enforcement of all of the policies by the HOA, I think is really important. And I know property owners in all the neighborhoods would appreciate that. And then community engagement, as someone who is an active member and participator in all of the community events. I just want to make sure that those continue and thrive, so that the families in the neighborhood can continue to participate in those, and that there's new and exciting opportunities happening every year. And those are really my main focuses.
From my 7 years of attending board meetings, I have seen the LRPRA become more efficient each year with the goal of saving costs. So I really don't have any issues that could be addressed at this time, but laws change, so we never know when we get a surprise issue. The bylaws of the HOA prevent us from wild spending for new facilities. So without a referendum, I also can't promise utopia. However, I'd like to see more done for our senior population, and maybe an event to bring the community together for America's 250th birthday. That's all I have.
So I can't say that there is so much I could help or think of what we need to change, but he was mentioning seniors. Since I lived here since 1991, we have changed a lot of things. I mean, we have the Prince William Parkway, now we get the courts district. We just, with the infrastructure that was mentioned, I think as long as we can get along with it, because traffic is going to be more and safety is important for me. As long as we can help the elderly to go along with all the changes we have, that would be great, because in those years that I lived here, in the 25 years, we have seen a lot of changes. And especially for people that lived here for a long time, that is a big issue, especially when it comes to internet and so forth. I will help as much as I can the community to make a difference from my side, from my view side. And since I'm in real estate, I understand most of the things they mentioned is help along so that we stay above, with our values. That's pretty much it.
Well, it's me again. This time I'll try to look at the watch so I don't need the flag. So I'll echo with a few of the candidates that spoke earlier. So Devin, when started, he made two important words that strike me: the why and transparency. I think those are really very important things that I'll champion for it. Somebody else also mentioned it on the other side. But a couple of the things, it's strategic maintenance and infrastructure. That's what I was talking earlier with the predictive maintenance. Those are one of the things that I'm gonna try to focus on if I'll get elected, but I'll try to focus on also when I'm gonna be on the financial committee. And then financial modernization, I'll make sure that through the committee we'll champion strategy to keep our reserve robust, but I believe we're doing it right now. And then governance and transparency, and I really believe we need more transparency. Communication, I think it's the way we communicate. People don't attend. We all get invited to attend to all the committees, but nobody really attends. And then everybody at the end, when some decision gets made, they are like surprised, why did this happen? I didn't know anything about it. So we need to be more engaged personally. But what we can do to help is to, the minute notes of the various meeting, whatever, they can be easier, be available on the website. The website is a little bit complicated to go through it, so we can improve certain things. But the main thing is we all need to be engaged. We cannot just expect after a decision is made why that decision was made. We all have the opportunity to be involved. It's up to us, so we need to do that. But fair process, I think it's very important. I believe we lack in a little bit of fair process. I was personally hurt when I just get told that I've been denied. There is no why, there is no specific reason. I think once we make a decision that involve one of the member of the association, we need to explain them the reason. We cannot just tell them, that's it, you're denied, or this is wrong. There's always gonna be transparency and why on everything that we're doing. That will help the community to trust us and believe in us and grow together and do better. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, again, my name is Philip Botwinick, and I'm really humbled and glad to be here tonight. I'll try to focus on question 3, which is what skills, or rather, what specific issues could be addressed by the board in the next 3 years if I was on. In my time on the finance committee and attending the meetings to become a candidate, I learned that there are some rules that probably need updating. I failed to say earlier that I used to be on an HOA board as an officer in Atlanta, Georgia, and I belonged to other HOAs before. Having spent about 31 years as a practicing attorney, solving problems for a wide range of people, I think it would be helpful to have an attorney on the board just to help calm things down and offer some sort of sage advice. My background, as one of my mentors says, is listening, problem solving, getting people to resolve complex issues. I work as a federal employee for the US Army. Every day I spend hours helping leaders solve difficult problems all around the world, and even in this area. I advise medical people, I advise colonels and a general. So my role would not be too different here, helping people solve problems. I have heard a theme about being fair in decision making. And as I've tried to learn about the processes here at Lake Ridge, I too have some questions about how things are done. And I think if you want someone on the board who will listen, treat people fairly, try to give people a voice, try to improve quality of life, and keep everyone in mind, whether they're renters, owners, retirees, families. I think I would be someone that could do that. I've spent time outside of this setting listening to other people. I've had one person tell me they're concerned about the safety of their children and the way people drive. I've heard people tell me they think it's unfair, maybe the living conditions if someone's not taking care of their home. So I think more needs to be done. In terms of my skill sets, which I really didn't outline earlier, humility, listening, cooperation, collaboration, problem solving, fresh perspective. Wherever I've gone, wherever I've been, I think a fresh perspective is nice. I'm full of energy. Thank you. 28 seconds. And really, process improvement. We can do that here. So I'd be happy and humbled if I'm voted in. Thank you.
I think over the next 3 years, the board has a really good opportunity to focus on 2 specific areas, many of which have already been addressed or talked about, and is really to trust, safety, and communication. The first is this word you've heard a lot, transparency. So transparency and consistency around the covenants enforcements. I've heard neighbors express confusion about the citations, particularly when there have been issues or things at the house that have existed for years that suddenly are flagged, or when enforcement seems inconsistent. So whether or not this is the intent, the perception really matters. I think the board can continue to work to clearly communicate the what and the why, which has been mentioned, specifically around the enforcement decisions so that residents can really understand their expectations. The second issue is the issue that first brought me my first board meeting to Range, and that is traffic safety. It's speeding is something I'm really concerned about in Lake Ridge, especially given the amount of children and pedestrians that use our streets. I know you've all seen what I call those turtle signs with the little guy with the flag, which is supposed to help residents to slow down. I understand there are limits to what the association can do without the county's involvement to address some of the speeding issues, but I think there's value in kind of non-punitive awareness approaches. I know a couple months ago, maybe last year, there was a radar speed sign on Cotton Mill that just flashed, that just showed what speed you were going. You're supposed to go 30, you're going 32, you just slow down. So I think that type of approach, that awareness approach, really was something that I would like to see addressed on any other streets that residents may have where there's concerns about speeding. So I think those are the two issues, that the transparency and consistency of the enforcements of the covenants, the what and the why, and seeing what we can do to just raise awareness of traffic safety all throughout Lake Ridge.
Thank you. And now for our questions from the audience.
I don't have any.
Oh.
Oh.
I didn't know you'd given an invitation.
Sorry about that.
You have one as well?
Mark, like that, I mentioned those who didn't know they were gonna be filling out their cards.
Sorry, Chair. No, I think, did anybody else have a question they want? I think I had gotten everybody else, Jen. Don't think I had you signed in, so that's true, you came in.
Each of the candidates will have 2 minutes to respond to these questions. And we'll begin with Devin. Give an idea or strategy that you would use to promote the positive perception of our association and to improve communications in our community.
That's a very good question, the perception. I talked to one of my neighbors probably 10 minutes before I left to come here. Hey, I'm running for the board. You know, let me know if you have any issues that I can think about. It's like, oh, how much time do you have? So I don't think that's a very good perception. I don't think many people know the good that the board does. Like, all of this exists and we have this because of the direction of the board. So I think, you know, we can look for ways, whether that's through the website, whether it's through the magazine that goes out, to really describe what the board does, who we are. I think there are opportunities there to just really drive home, like, we are working for you. We are here to protect you, to protect your home values, to make sure that this community is a place that you want to stay. So I think there's a huge window there to changing that perception of the HOA being this punitive force who's out to get you, like I mentioned with the covenants enforcement. I think there's a lot that could be done there to change that perception. I think that it could all start with just communicating through either the website or the magazine of, you know, starting at square one. These are your board members. this is what you do, and also opening up additional channels for members to contact board members, residents to contact board members with particular issues. I know there's a forum within the board meetings, but not everyone can make those, so I think maybe creating a process where residents can, air their concerns or ask questions would be more often.
Well, that's a great question. Again, Philip Botwinick. I think focusing on issues that matter to owners would also help. I wrote down 3 things that came to my mind. Whenever I talk to other neighbors or homeowners, they're like, well, what do our dues go for? And why am I spending this much? And what are we doing to save money? And that was part of my focus on the finance committee. Like, I was concerned, how much do we spend for collection? How much do we pay a law firm to actually open a case and just start it? As opposed to, like, what are we really getting for our money? So I think focusing on things that matter would definitely give a positive perception. And as far as improving communications, I've heard about lunches. I, for one, if I were on the board, would attend lunches, however many times they were a month, or things of that nature. One thing I've told people who know me, if I'm elected, I'm gonna still voluntarily attend the finance committees, just to listen and understand what's happening. Because to me, the finances are really part and parcel to what's going on. There are a lot of moving pieces. It's a big organization, it's a big budget, and everyone's hard-earned dollars, like was put in the magazine, really need to be taken into account. So besides attending lunches, or meetings, besides going to finance committee and learning what's going on in the finance committee, things like the trails and just getting out and seeing what's happening, that's what I've tried to do. I went to the dog park the other day and one of the volunteers said, well, why won't they lease us this for 30 years? So that way the county can do more stuff. I said, it's a great question. I'll have to ask Nick. So I think getting out there and doing more.
So I would say somebody mentioned survey earlier. I guess we should try to do surveys at least once a year. I don't think it's really that difficult. I mean, with the technology that exists, we can just do Microsoft form thing, sending out there to all the residents. Survey is going to give us a better idea of what really people in the community wants. That would be one thing. And like I mentioned earlier, work a little bit on the website. I found it a little bit difficult to navigate, and maybe put a corner on the website. I believe that you mentioned something like a question and answer type of thing, or if you already have pre-question with answers about certain things, so people can go and the major thing at least can get the answer right there, or they can ask a question and somebody from the board or Nick can, somebody from the commandant office can reply to them. We need to try to be more transparent, but like I said, the main thing is we need to convince them that this is all of us. You need to be involved. Don't just expect to be there and then complain when things don't go the right way. That's it.
Yeah, Renata here again. One of the things that I thought would be kind of helpful, we are a very multicultural neighborhood. We have a lot of families from the military. It would be great if we would come up with something where they have ideas what they can do, because some people just moved here and they have no clue what they can do in our neighborhood. We got so much to offer. And in addition to that, we are getting the courts district, which is by the Princeman Parkway. So traffic is going to be much more. We're going to have a lot of more movements going around. In general, I think listening and coming up with some ideas from the outside the box would help us a great deal. I'm from old school. For me to get into the internet and so forth took some time. And if I could help to teach the older generation to get to the newer generation connection, that would be a great way of helping out. Other than that, I think as a community, we'll work together.
As far as communication and transparency, I think the board does a terrific job. We have bi-monthly newsletters We have weekly notices on the web. We have an excellent website. And from talking to my neighbors, when they ask questions, it's basically, they don't read. So I don't think we can make any more improvements in our communication than we've already done. The weekly or the occasional lunches were a terrific idea. It allows the citizens to ask questions. That's all I have.
I think it's a great question, and I was telling one of my friends just the other day that I was running for the board, and she was like, "Oh, I hate HOAs." And I was like, well, she doesn't live in an HOA community, and I was like, you don't understand the benefits, you don't have one. And I was telling her, I was like, well, if you don't like it, you join, you get involved, you make changes, or you do what you can to do that. So I think in order to change that perception out there, it's not just our HOA, I think it's a lot of HOAs everywhere. It's really to boost and talk more about all the amenities and the great benefits that the HOA brings to the community. By getting the board and the staff out there and everyone, I know I personally love the Lake Ridge Today and I read it, but I know my husband just kind of tosses it away. So not everyone reads these, the great communications that we're putting out. So I think we need to actually just have bodies and conversations out in the community as well. Because much like you said, even if you're sending all these great communications, people aren't reading them. So we need to be out in the community, having conversations with the members, to really hear what they're saying and give them a positive light to what we're trying to do. So I think that's kind of how you change the perspective a little bit, at least what I would do.
All right, in terms of perception of the community, I think the first and most obvious one is the pay attention to how it looks. I mean, in terms of maintenance, the upkeep of our facilities in common areas, and that includes the crews around about every day picking up trash. Just sure you can see how much gets left overnight, but that's just important to the way the perception of our community is a clean, well maintained, it's attractive. So I think another thing that influences perception of the HOA is the fairness in how the covenants are applied and how the architectural guidelines are applied. And people have a feeling that there's being treated unfairly. That's certainly a bad sign. And then transparency, the board can always operate in a transparent manner. If they don't, again, perception is going to be very negative. In terms of communication, Eric said earlier, you can't communicate enough. No matter how the Associated Tribes magazine, with the website, with the weekly recreation newsletter, email, just newsletter, weekly newsletter. People don't always read those. Keep trying, I guess.
Aaron, I think we're on, like, you're in my head. I love the Lake Ridge Today magazine. I think it's beautiful and it's so informative, and I'm so sorry that I don't know who's responsible for. It's been updated in the last couple of years, and it's just I look forward to getting that magazine every, what is it, quarter, month, whatever it is. I love it. So that's a good. I also agree that the website is clunky, and I haven't had real good success with the website. Logging in and trying to find out my information has been, so I think that is someplace where we can improve. I think as far as communication goes, our neighbors are our best advocates, I guess. One of my neighbors is here today, who I love that she came out and supported me. And but we have a little message board for all of our neighbors, and I love that we stay connected that way. And my neighbors are super important to me. And as my kiddo was growing up, it was really cool to be able to say to him, you know who lives in this house and this house and this house. And if you ever have a problem, you can go to all of those people. And, he said, yeah, I know, and so it's just really cool to have that, that sense of community there. And Aaron, the other thing that you said, I wrote down door knocking. Good old fashioned door knocking, I think just talking to your neighbors. I know you see those people, you know, who they're selling stuff and you don't wanna talk to them or, you know, whatever. But you know what, it gets you out there and know your community, and I think there's true value in that. The art of conversation.
All right, these two questions are very similar, so I'm going to combine them. And we'll begin with Audra. Name one thing you'd like to see happen in our HOA that isn't happening now. And is there a new amenity you would be willing to work on adding to LRPRA?
Oh, it's a tough one. What's not happening? You know, I think I mentioned this before, the us versus them. I feel like that needs work. You know, we're not the big bad HOA. We are here to beautify and make sure that all of our property stays up to a standard that you know, we expect. That's what our dues goes for, is, you know, we pay people who say, look, you have this tree that's growing, you know, you need to address some things. And you know, those hard conversations need to happen sometimes, and that's okay, and that's gonna keep our community up to the standard that we all expect. As far as an amenity, I love the idea of the trails. I know a couple of other people who are involved with the trails. So I love that, but that's already here, so I don't know, I don't have an amenity that I would. We use the pools here and we love that. We love the walking trails, which is something that we discovered during COVID. I had no idea that we had all those trails until 5 years ago. So, you know, I think just expanding that and building on that would be a nice addition to the community and promoting it. Oh,
Okay, and this is not an original value, you know, thing that's not myself, I think Nick's mentioned before, but I think that having at the boat ramp, at the Lake Ridge boat, the HOA boat ramp, having a small storage area for canoes and kayaks would be beneficial. For people that can't do that at home, I do like that idea, and I think it probably is fairly low cost, probably not too hard to manage. And trail related, you know, of course, finish going Greenway, but I'd also like us to look at possibly expanding the trails in some of our other open space areas, like under the power lines that were fairly easy to do that. Something we can look at, and I think a lot of people would enjoy, so.
Neil, you took the words right out of my mouth. I literally had boat storage at the docks on the reservoir written down. Personally, I mean, my two kayaks are just kind of laying in my backyard, so I'd love to store them down there. I think that would be a great thing to add for everyone. Another amenity or an idea for a community event to bring everyone together is an around the world potluck. You know, we have all these wonderful community centers. And I think we could do more community events that are very low cost, that, you know, we ask our community members to bring things to. And, you know, all it would take is a little bit of organization and some plates and cups, and I think that kind of thing would be a chance for all of us to come together and be involved together, but also to showcase, you know, where you're from and maybe a special dish that, you know, your grandmother made you or what have you, just something, so give a little bit of yourself, but also be able to meet others. And then a different amenity, I'm trying to think now that I stole it right out of my head. I would just say more outdoor, more something along the trails. Those are something my family take a part of, and we love them. And I think to be able to give that back to the community, and maybe do more to them, that would be wonderful. Just to make sure people know know about them and are using them. And that's about it.
One amenity that was established a year or so ago was an amphitheater over by the pool in the preschool. I would like to possibly see maybe weekly concerts, some community bands to volunteer. On the trails, we have linear trails and most of the entrances we're at street crossings. There are a lot of side trails that lead to the main trails that are kind of unofficial. It'd be nice if they were marked. So people in other parts of the community don't have to walk a half a mile to get to the trail. And that's all I can think of right now.
The snow is coming. I would love to see that we would improve something where the kids can go sledding. And in Springwoods, going down the hill, there's a very dangerous area. If we would secure an area where the kids can't get hurt. Because I'm serious, because every time I go with my granddaughter and my son, there's an area where you could get hurt because they put other things around it. If we could just secure an area where the kids have a safe going down, landing, and then can get up again, it would be wonderful, because we have a lot of kids that look for a nice hill. And Springwoods is one of them. I don't think Lake Ridge has it anymore. But any of the schools, if we could improve that just for the sledding, I would be for.
Water is behind the elementary school.
Maybe we should make an advertisement for that.
No, but so one good thing is, that's a great question that can be put on the next survey. So we can hear what all the members think about it. Me personally, I was thinking about the boat ramp storage, same thing, because of carrying the kayak on the way and try to. Actually, I didn't buy it. My boss has it. I just rent it when I go there, but it would be nice if there is some storage facility there. And then, like I just said, it will be a good question on the survey. I don't know, activities, I would think there is some nice trails here. We can organize some, when the weather is nice, walk on a weekend on a different trail, so we can all learn more, all the trails that we have in this area and walk together. I think that can be an idea. That's all I have.
Again, my name is Philip Botwinick. I'm very humbled and glad to be here tonight. I think the question was, what things could the HOA be doing that they're not doing now, as well as what might be another amenity I'd be willing to support. So I want to start with something I think the HOA is not doing right now, but I want to give Nick, our CAO, all the credit, because he brought this up during the meeting. I don't remember which one. It talked about, how do you rebrand? How do you improve the name or sign of Lake Ridge? Everyone sees the sign at the beginning and end of the Lake Ridge area on Old Bridge. I grew up, or rather, I was in a community that owned a home in Atlanta, and they decided on every street corner, they got approval from the city to make a little sign to show this little area of about 30,000 people was within the community. So what was in my mind was terms like rebranding or improving the name, or improving rather how it's seen. But I have to now talk about my wife. She noticed when she drove around the area, when you go to different subdivisions, they're very different. So one might look like mansions live there, and where I live is like a little tiny wooden sign. And I know that's because each builder did it differently. But one of the things we did in previous HOAs is, how can we make them all a little consistent? I think if we can somehow improve the new logo and maybe make it where we can integrate that into the community entrances, it would show how they're connected. Also, when I drive around, I'm always watching, whether it's DC, Maryland, and I see a lot of crime watching and safety signs. I think our community could do more to have more things about safety and driving slowly. Finally, I love the kayak idea. We have a kayak, it'd be better by the Lake Ridge Marina area.
So two things related to the question in terms of what's that happening now, which I think could be a good idea, is a new neighbor orientation night. I think it's something that can be held once a quarter, twice a year, depending on how often new people move into Lake Ridge, where you could have new neighbors come in, meet the board, learn more about Lake Ridge, offer a way for the new neighbors to connect, help them get more familiar with things like the covenants, trash pickup, just, I know you're given stuff when you move in, but it'd be helpful if, you know, you had a human who's walking them through that, to make that connection, to understand, you know, this is why the board does certain things. So I think that could be one thing that's not happening now. Another in terms of an amenity is just, and I consider this an amenity, is just maybe something on the Lake Ridge website in terms of like a directory. If you wanted to opt in, you know, as a neighbor, you could put, hey, you know, I live here, I have these interests, or I have this type of business, and you want to connect, you can reach out to me here. I think, you know, some way for members to connect. I know there's the broader social medias, but I think if you made it local, just a simple directory, if you wanted to opt in, you could, you know, meet to connect with your neighbors. One thing I think which would be valuable in my case is, you know, we have a young son, we're gonna have another son, you know, just connecting with, you know, younger parents or toddlers, so we can have something to do. If it's something, and I imagine this is something very simple, you know, on Lake Ridge website that, you know, you can opt in if you want to. Those are just a few ideas that I have.
Our next question is, have you read the strategic plan or studied the budget on the website? And we'll begin with Devin.
Have I read
Have you read the strategic plan or studied the budget on the website?
I have read the strategic plan. I have not studied the budget, but I have attended some of the board meetings that I could say abreast to the financial happenings of Lake Ridge. That's one way that I choose to stay informed. I know as an HOA, finance is kind of one of, you know, the major things that we're all concerned about. How is Lake Ridge best using the, you know, assessments that are collected throughout the year. So I do realize how important that is, and I thank Phil for your time on the finance committee. So I am aware that those resources are available, and, you know, aware of how important finances are to the community as a whole.
Well, the answer to the question is yes to both, but I have to admit, I'm somewhat new to the website. And maybe some people who are much younger than me are very good at it, but a couple people tonight have mentioned some challenges. I will be frank, the first time that I really got things working, I actually had to go to the HOA and someone showed me what to do on my phone. And that's how I got connected. But there were people much older than me that said, oh, I love it, I use it, it's easy. But, you know, I'm someone that has embraced technology in the workplace, in my personal life, but I don't like yearn to be on my computer for 5 or 6 hours every evening or 5 or 6 hours on a Saturday afternoon. So I've gone on the website exploring almost everything. And of course, I've listened to the budget at least through one full cycle where the CO provided to the finance committee, you know, a proposed budget. And we've gone through that whole cycle. And I've come to board meetings where I think they've been discussed as well. As far as the strategic plan, I've looked at it. I've been involved with long-range planning with the Army for a long time. I was remiss in saying I was certified as an auditor for the Army through the Army Community Center Excellence. It's the Ball Ridge program. So I've been doing process improvement for the Army for a long time. And we always talk about if we don't know what we're doing, it's hard to tell if we're getting better or worse. So in the Army, we at least try to keep track of, you know, how many of these have we done? Have we spent our money appropriately? So I feel like there's still room for improvement on how we spend money, how we save money, and how we decide where our money goes.
The question for me would be yes for both of them, since I'm part of the finance committee that's an obvious question.
once I get on the board, I am more excited to learn about it or get more involved in this because I don't know how we all do the certain things because Lake Ridge Association is the biggest one in Prince William County. We're talking totally different numbers than what I'm used to. But I am someone with the background of knowing how to do numbers. I need to see what we're doing once we get inside of the box properly.
As a current board member, I have read those documents. And I can also say as a board member, before a meeting, you're gonna be reading about 150 pages to prepare for the meeting. One of the problems I found with the Lake Ridge website, it depends on what you're using to look at it. If you're looking at an Apple phone, it's gonna be different than when you look at it from a PC. So some people's complaints may be because of what they're using to read the website.
And I'll be honest, once I join the board, I plan on fully diving into all of these documents. I have a lot of strategic planning experience. We just finished a strategic plan at my work and I did one at another organization a few years ago. So I look forward to diving into that. I personally love budgeting, so I can't wait to really review the numbers and see what's in them. But I have not yet taken that opportunity to do so.
Yes, I have read the strategic plan. I actually trying to remember the history. There wasn't, it took a little while for the board to adopt it because as with many strategic plans, the problem is always translating the goals or the goals and strategies into something that's really happening. And I think that was kind of the case back then, but, right now, I cannot recall anything really significant about it, I have to admit. When I was on the board, yes, I did read the financial documents. The board had approved the budget every year. I did pay attention to analyze what was in the package. But I think we've been fortunate to be that. Like Aaron's a good treasurer. Our previous treasurer was we had confidence in those people in the finance committee that they're performing their role in general. Got to keep it in mind and look at it yourself, but. And staff as well was been very good with financial management, so. Not my primary concern, I guess.
I have not looked at the budget. I have not looked at the strategic plan. However, I've been married for 29 years and we're still here and we got, some money left over, so. My husband's right there, he can attest, he walked in. So, I know that doesn't translate, and I don't mean to make light of it, but I do, pride myself on being prepared for the board meetings. I hate being unprepared, so I will be reading those 150 pages diligently and, fully every time I have a meeting.
And our last question is, are any of our candidates familiar with the Community Association Institute? And have any of you taken any free or paid training through the Community Association Institute? And if you have, could you please tell us what classes you taken? And we'll begin with
I have not,
Community associations.
I have not, that's all I've got.
Neil.
Board used to get, communicate, when you're on the board, you used to get on like the, distribution list for communications, and I did not take any of the classes. I admired the people who did. I know that Dan has in the past, but I have not myself, but I think it's a great idea.
I'm not familiar with that specific one, but I've taken many classes through the association executive certification. So it's a similar, it's not specifically to community, it's just associations in general. So I think those can translate potentially, and honestly, there's too long of a list to tell you how many classes I've taken through them, so.
I haven't taken any of their classes, but as a board member, I do receive their magazine and usually read the interesting articles. We were fortunate to host the organization a couple months ago. And they picked our brains for a little while. So that's all I have.
I don't know much about those classes. I do get emails every so often from an HOA training. And I do read through that, being and a lot of other things that are connected to this. But that specific one, I haven't heard, but I'm interested.
Same here, I haven't heard, I haven't taken any class in the way.
Well, I like to pride myself on what a good listener I am. But I'm an Eagle Scout, and I have to tell you, early on, my scoutmaster said, Philip, you're supposed to listen twice as much as you talk. And so far, I was breaking that rule at 13, 14, 15, 16. Why do I tell you this now? I've had the great opportunity to listen to people in the community and prior board members and even a board president here. And my listening skills are very good. So one past president told me about this and said, when you become on board, you're basically available as a member and you get access to this training. But there was a proposal years ago, I think, and I don't know if it's still in existence, where you get to actually attend one of these maybe training sessions in person. And it's local, it's not a boondoggle, it's where you could go to a one-day maybe class. So I've heard about it, I've looked at it, I looked at ways I could become a member, but I have not taken any formal courses. But I would segue to this, as a licensed practicing attorney for 31 years, I'm required to do 12 hours of CLE every year. So in the law, we call it, you're constantly learning. So my judge, who I law clerked for, was a Marine in World War II. He said, once he gets it right, he's gonna quit. So if you're a lawyer, you're always learning, you never stop. As far as the Community Association Institute, Nick educated us a little bit about, I think, a study that was done using Lake Ridge as a sample. So it sounds like there's great professionalism opportunities for learning for those board members currently on the board or the new ones that join the board.
I have not taken those classes, but if there's one thing you should know about me, professional development is something that I'm very big into. Just an example, when I mentioned earlier that I have a background in nursing, as soon as I became a nurse, I looked for what certifications I could get and what particular nursing floor that I was working on. When I moved into ICU, I got my ICU certification. When I moved in the ER, I got my ER certification. Once I transitioned to my public affairs career now, like I mentioned earlier, I work for a clinical laboratory that does cancer genetic testing. Started looking for what certifications I could get there. So I know that if I am elected to the board, this is the first I'm hearing of this. I know that this is something I'm definitely going to pursue if I'm elected, because professional development and continuously learning is something that is, something that I've done. So.
Well, thank you all very much. On behalf of the nominating committee, John Mayer, Michael Butler, and myself, I would like to thank all of you for attending tonight, for your time, for your preparation, and your willingness to serve the Lake Ridge community. Also want to thank each of you for attending tonight and your interest in the election and the future of Lake Ridge Parks and Recreation Association. And I want to thank the staff for their support for the nominating committee this year. Please remember to carefully review the candidate information on the website and in Lake Ridge today. And most importantly, please tell your friends and your neighbors to vote in the upcoming election. Your involvement helps to ensure a strong and vibrant community. This concludes the 2026 Meet the Candidates Night. And I hope to see each one of you at the annual meeting of the membership on February the 10th. Thank you.